Thina lo mhlaba sugezile. Ayaya, thina lo mhlaba sugezile. Ayaya, oh thina lo mhlaba sugezile. Thina lo mhlaba sugezile. Thina lo mhlaba sugezile.
South Africa had a great civilization, the Mapungubwe civilization.
That kingdom was not created by one tribe. It was a diverse combination of groupings of people that came from various parts of Southern Africa. And so herein lies the story of South Africa.
It was an amazing African society in what was a very fertile part of the world and a good place to live.
Where they developed a sophisticated economy, they had a technological base, they had a social political system.
You read about a city which was larger than Los Angeles today.
And yet that civilization just disappeared.
And we want to understand what happens to a society like Mapungubwe. Because it could so easily happen with us.
And so in many respects, if one examines Mapungubwe, it's a strong reminder, on the one hand, of what is possible, but on the other hand, the risk that comes with inadequate reflection, strategic reflection, on the critical issues that face successful or thriving nations.
We live in a world that is rapidly changing, a world that is very complex. And the more knowledge we have, the deeper and more extensive our research is, the better we are able to cope with changes, the better we are able to position the country in a strategic manner to anticipate what is waiting down the line. So Mapungubwe is very, very necessary.
South Africa is a very complex society, both given its history but also its current realities.
We are currently, with regard to research and development, at about 1% of GDP, whereas countries that have succeeded have ensured that in addition to attending to the immediate issues, you focus on the long term so that you contextualize what you are doing now against the long-term objectives.
The world is now looking at us as they look at any other place. And so we need to be competitive, we need to be productive, we need to be sound in our values, we need to be developing our people to participate meaningfully in the economy.
Most of the institutes in South Africa, and I would want to say in Africa as a whole, are positioned on the basis of current events. They are responding to the immediate challenges of the time. And so they lose the opportunity to look forward and unpack what the nations will be like in the future.
It's creating a space for thinking about things differently. It's bringing together different sciences and different areas of work into genuine integrated solutions.
In terms of organizational structure, we have set up a board of directors, which is made up of eminent persons from the public sector, from the private sector, from civil society organizations. And they bring experience both in relation to intellectual issues, but also on governance matters. We are organized at the content level into 3 faculties. First one is humanity. We also have the faculty of knowledge economy and scientific advancement. The third faculty that we have is called political economy.
We have a duty really to harness the skills and abilities and thinkings of people at all levels and and it's not necessarily just an intellectual level, which is what we also want to avoid, but it's to look at genuine intellectuals within the working class and within people in rural areas, women, youth.
We can see what's happening in the world, and I think it's important for us at Mapungubwe to make sure that we groom and develop young people.
So we're looking at problems from an economic perspective, from a philosophical perspective, from a historical perspective, from a social justice perspective, and weaving all of those different perspectives together, not as separate silos.
We have got platforms through workshops and focus groups where we invite anyone who is interested in the themes of our work to participate in it. And as such, we think that we are creating here a dynamic institute.
To help us forecast the future, if you like, based on the experiences of the present and the past, and based on developments that occur globally.
We want Mapungubwe to be a forum of intellectual discourse, a forum of interaction amongst researchers, amongst academics, amongst intellectuals from various universities and research institutes. And therefore, we believe over time that Mapungubwe should evolve into an intellectual movement in our country.
I think that for the majority of South Africans of all walks of life, there's a sense of that we've travelled this road, but where are we now? And what we do and the kind of decisions that we take today is going to impact into the future. I think that Mapungubwe plays the role of putting a spotlight on those issues in a way that's reflective, in a way that doesn't seek easy answers, because there are no easy solutions to the problems that we face.
We rather have that discourse today than we have to talk about how we destroy the democracy in the future.
Put on the table some real critical thinking that will really challenge us as a nation.
What are the opportunities in the global terrain that present themselves for South Africa to take advantage of? What are the linkages, the partnerships, and the complementarities on the African continent that South Africa can help to forge and ensure that the continent grows even at a faster rate?
South Africa therefore offers this extraordinary laboratory for us to examine ourselves constantly, to reflect on the issues facing us, but importantly, to remind ourselves of what the Constitution holds out for us.
And Mapungubwe's intention is to extract that knowledge, is to find that knowledge, extract that knowledge, and use it effectively for the survival and advancement of South Africa.
One of the most heartening things is that whilst we have got a small group of full-time researchers, many of the people who are participating in the various research projects come from universities and other research institutes.
Business requires certainty in order to operate. But we live in uncertain times. So if you are a business who is thinking long range, you know, what's going to be happening in the country, what's our country going to be like in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's very important for you to start investing into institutions like Mapungubwe, because their major preoccupation is really, you know, about answering questions of that nature.
Through their work, we will be able to make a very good contribution to the policies that should help to form and shape the direction of the South Africa that we all want, South Africa that we've all been dreaming about. They will in time be able to produce really good work that will make us an important contribution to where we should be going as a country. And it is for this reason that we at Shanduka are so excited about the establishment of MISTRA, and it was for this reason that we unreservedly decided that we would back them and support them as much as we can.
We are anxious to know that the struggles of our former heroes and heroines were not in vain.
We'd like to see a society in which everyone feels at home, a society that is at peace with itself, a society in which knowledge is produced to the benefit of the larger community, a society that is fully integrated into Africa, that plays its role globally and on the stage of the world, ultimately a society that would be commensurate to what the Constitution wants it to be.
The nation we aspire to is a nation which is competitive internally, a nation which is competitive externally, a nation which is able to sustain itself with no fear, and a nation which is based on the fundamental principles of human rights, fundamental principles of education, principles of achieving, and principles of creating new knowledge, and also creating ways in which South Africa can always emerge as a leader in the world.
We are going to be affected quite enormously by climate change, given that we are between these two oceans at the southern tip of the African continent. And the need to adapt to climate change is going to really impact on poorer people the most, because people with resources often can adapt quite fast.
Because I think experience has taught us, and especially the recent developments in North Africa, that high rates of economic growth on their own are inadequate. You have to ensure that there is a democratic environment in which every citizen feels that they have got a contribution to make and that their ideas are taken seriously.
Unless South Africa over the next decade or within the next generation address the question about inequality, we're going to have a serious problem on our hand.
Post-colonial Africa has started out with great promise and has tended to fall into crisis, as is the case with Zimbabwe, because people haven't thought beyond the euphoria of democracy, and it is critical for South Africa to think long-term.
I think that people who are poor and who have not had benefit of our democratic transition have a right to demand a solution to their poverty and not wait. But in reality, true development takes a long time.
But clearly, given high youth unemployment, as an example, and the size of the youth population in South Africa, they're going to play an important role in the deepening of democracy, in the consolidation of our nation.
Unless we actually appropriately educate our people, we're not going to be a factor in the global economy. And end of story. No two ways about it.
We're not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for future generations. We do not want to end up with future generations spitting on our graves, but we want them to celebrate that we had older people who came before us, who created the kind of society where we can all say we're proud of. So Mapungubwe has come up at the right time. There's no way we can doubt that we need new knowledge, and Mapungubwe must do it well.
And enables us to face up to the many challenges that come with democratization, that come with consolidating this democracy with nation building.
How do we ensure that we identify those issues that can make South Africa a successful nation that has identified its vision and mobilized all of society to participate in the achievement of that vision?
It is only when these diverse groups are united that we formulate a powerful society that can be the beacon of hope for the African continent, and that can be a shining example to the world as a whole.